somewhere in the forests of Montana, Idaho, or British Columbia, it doesn't really matter which, there is a line. Not painted, not fenced, just a gap, 20 feet wide, 5,500 miles long, running in a perfectly straight line across mountains, rivers, prairies, and swamps. From space, you can almost see it. On the ground, it looks like the Earth was unzipped. This is the longest international border in the world, and almost no one who lives next to it can tell you exactly where it is, because the line isn't where it was supposed to be. The border between the United States and Canada is an act of pure geometric arrogance. It is a political idea, a number, a latitude, imposed on a landscape that had no interest in being divided, and it was drawn by men who had never seen most of it. Here's what they got wrong, and why it doesn't matter anymore. It is 1818. Britain and the United States have just finished their second war against each other, the one Americans call the War of 1812, and the British barely remember. Both sides are exhausted. Both sides want to stop arguing about the vast, unmapped territory west of the Great Lakes. So they do something elegant, something clean. They simply agree to cut the continent in half along a latitude line, the 49th parallel. No surveys required. No one needs to go look. It's just a number, agreed upon in London, ratified on paper, and made official. Done. The only problem, actually finding the 49th parallel in the middle of a wilderness, is not done in a London drawing room. It is done by men with sextants, compasses, and mules, standing in knee-deep snow, fighting off mosquitoes the size of small aircraft. The joint surveys began in earnest in the 1870s. American and British teams worked side by side, planting iron monuments every few miles to mark the line. The technology they used was the best available at the time. It was also wrong. The Earth isn't a perfect sphere. It bulges at the equator. It flattens at the poles. In the 1800s, geodesy, the science of measuring the exact shape of the Earth, was still in its infancy. The surveyors used a slightly incorrect model of what the planet actually looks like. Every calculation they made was based on that flawed foundation. The result, in some places, the marked border is hundreds of feet north or south of where the true 49th parallel actually sits. Not miles, not kilometers, but enough. Enough to place farms on the wrong side of a country. Enough to matter. So why don't we just fix it? The answer is stranger than the mistake itself. And it involves a library where you can commit an international border crossing just by walking to the bathroom. Here's the answer. We can't fix it because fixing it would move the border, and moving the border would instantly change the nationality of hundreds of properties, roads, pipelines, and people. The legal chaos would be incomprehensible. So the International Boundary Commissions on both sides made a pragmatic decision. The border is not where the 49th parallel is. The border is where the monuments are. The error became the law. Darby Line, Vermont. Population around 2,500. It sits right on the border with Stansted, Quebec. Depending on which side of the line you're standing on, you're in a different country. This would be unremarkable except for one thing. The line doesn't follow the street. It runs through buildings. Some houses in Darby Line have their front door in the United States and their back door in Canada. For most of the 20th century, residents walked between the two countries freely. Kids played on both sides of the line without thinking about it. It was a community, not a checkpoint. Then September 11th, 2001 happened, and everything changed. Today, if you walk out your back door in the wrong direction, you may technically require a passport. Some homeowners have sealed doors that face the wrong country. Families who used to share driveways across the line must now drive miles to a legal crossing point, even if their neighbor is 30 feet away. But the strangest example, the one that stopped a nation in its tracks, is a building that refused to take a side. The Haskell Free Library and Opera House was built in 1904 specifically to serve both communities, by design, on purpose. The building straddles the international boundary. The reading room is in the United States. The main entrance is in Canada. And the stage of the Opera House, where performers stand to sing, is in one country, while the audience sits in another. A line is painted on the floor, a thick black stripe marking exactly where the border runs through the building. Patrons routinely stand with one foot in each country while choosing a novel. For decades, this was the only place on Earth where a Canadian could walk into an American building without going through customs. They entered from the Canadian side, crossed into the U.S. interior, and left back through the Canadian door. No passport, no checkpoint. As of 2002, American authorities installed a border guard post outside, but the library, by special agreement, remains open to both sides. It is a small, stubborn monument to the absurdity of the line itself. The library is a charming quirk, but for some Americans, the border isn't a curiosity. It's a daily logistical nightmare, and they didn't choose it. Their geography chose it for them. Point Roberts, Washington. It has a post office, a marina, and about 1,000 permanent residents. It is unambiguously American territory. The American flag flies there. American laws apply there. And to drive to the rest of the United States from there, you must cross into Canada, drive through a foreign country for 25 miles, and cross back. Point Roberts exists because the 49th parallel runs across the base of a peninsula. The logic was simple. Everything south of 49 degrees is American. The cartographers in 1818 didn't look closely enough to notice that this rule would strand a chunk of land with no land connection to the country it supposedly belonged to. Children who grow up in Point Roberts and want to attend high school must cross into Canada every morning, pass through a border checkpoint, attend school in British Columbia, and cross back every afternoon to go to prom, to play in a baseball game, to pick up a friend. International border crossing, twice a day, for 4 years. If you think that's extreme, meet the Northwest Angle. In the northeast corner of Minnesota, there is a small peninsula that juts into Lake of the Woods. It is the only part of the contiguous United States that sits north of the 49th parallel, a geographic anomaly so obscure that almost no one knows it exists. About 120 people live there year-round. The Northwest Angle exists because of a 1783 mapping error. Negotiators used a map that placed the source of the Mississippi River in the wrong location. By the time anyone noticed, the borders had been ratified. The angle was American. It stayed American. To drive from the Northwest Angle to the rest of Minnesota, residents have two options. They can take a boat across the lake when it isn't frozen. Or they can drive through Canada, call a toll-free number at the border, wave at a camera, and be granted entry via an honor system. That's the border crossing. A phone call, a wave. These anomalies aren't accidents of nature. They are the direct result of humans trying to impose perfect geometry on an imperfect world, and paying for that arrogance every single year in millions of dollars and thousands of inconvenient commutes. Back to the slash. That 20-foot corridor through the wilderness. Someone has to maintain it. Every tree that falls across the line must be cleared. Every shrub that encroaches must be cut back. The border cannot be allowed to disappear under vegetation. This is the job of the International Boundary Commission, a joint U.S.-Canada body established in 1925. It employs surveyors, engineers, and maintenance crews who spend their careers tending to a line. An abstract, slightly wrong, completely arbitrary line. Their annual budget runs into the millions. They resurvey sections of the border regularly, not to move it, but to confirm it is where everyone agreed it would be. There are over 8,000 monuments along the border. Cast iron, granite, aluminum. Some are sinking into swamps. Some have been struck by trees. A few have been moved by farmers, by developers, by accident, and had to be relocated at significant diplomatic expense. Each monument is a physical insistence that here, at this precise spot, one country ends and another begins. Stand next to one of those monuments in the middle of British Columbia or Montana. Look left, look right. The forest on both sides is identical. The same species of pine, the same species of hawk overhead, the same rainfall, the same soil, the same geology. Nature has absolutely no idea the border is there, and yet the line endures. We spend millions every year to keep it clear of trees. We build checkpoints in tiny Vermont towns. We make children cross international borders to go to school. We phone cameras in Minnesota so the government knows we're coming home. The U.S.-Canada border is not a remarkable piece of geography. It is a remarkable piece of human stubbornness. It is the insistence that a number, a degree of latitude, is more real than a forest, more permanent than a river, more meaningful than a neighborhood. Every border on Earth is, at its core, an argument. An argument that here, on this invisible arbitrary line, the rules change, the currency changes, the flag changes, the laws change. And we maintain that argument with iron monuments and chainsaw crews and phone-in custom stations because the alternative, admitting that the line was always a fiction, is more frightening than paying to maintain it. The slash through the wilderness isn't a border. It's a reminder that humans drew a straight line on a curved world and then had the audacity to believe it.